Hello everyone, this is Jake with American Railroads Project, and today we're going to talk about a fun railfan story. This one takes place in 2025, and it was the very first time I took my uncle railfanning. Now, my uncle and I are very close. You know, he got me into photography, taught me a lot, really got me into traveling. You know, that's really where the travel bug bit me. And when I really started getting into railroad history, railfanning, chasing trains, taking pictures of them and all of that stuff, he was interested, but it was something he had never done before. He had a few 35 millimeter pictures from like the 90s, early 2000s of the occasional locomotive or anything, but he had never gone train chasing, is what he calls it. So one day we were driving around Bluefield and I wanted to chase a train. And it wasn't just any train, it was a, Bluefield, of course, is the mouth or the headquarters of the Norfolk Southern Pocahontas Division, Old Norfolk and Western Pocahontas Division. And I heard that there was a Heritage Unit that was sitting in the Bluefield yard about to leave towards Roanoke. And I never photographed a Heritage Unit before. It was number 8098, I think is what the number is, but it's the Norfolk Southern Conrail locomotive. So the idea is that we were going to go there, photograph it, and maybe chase it, on its way to Giles County, Glenlyn. I had two spots picked out that I really wanted to capture, and that was kind of it. So he was of course up for it. He drove, so I could get the pacing shots, all that cool. So it was really cool of him to do. And we're driving through the Bluefield yard, which is interesting because there's the main yard where like the locomotive building is, the old roundhouse was, but it actually continues down all the way towards Bluefield State College. And we started down there. We figured we'd go down to up in case, we caught it when it was still coming out of the coal fields. We didn't see it. Go to, the coaling tower, all that stuff, we didn't see it. I was like, well, where is this train? We saw a freight train sitting there. So he got the idea, hey, let's go across this bridge that goes over the tracks, see if it's down the line, hidden by some trees and bushes. So I was like, all right. So as soon as we turned and go in there it was, the blue. And I was like, stop the van. And so I got out, put my camera, which I'm actually shooting on now, through the chain link fence, took a photo, but I was a little disappointed because it wasn't leading, it was the second unit, but the one that was leading was interesting because it was BNSF. And, I'd seen BNSF before and I knew what it was, but I never photographed one before. And I was like, this is kind of weird. I was like, it's not ideal. I was like, but this actually might work out. So we ended up, turning around, he took a picture of it, with his phone camera, and we didn't basically know what to do. We didn't know when it was going to move. We didn't know any of that stuff. So we took a gamble. We went, got something to eat real quick at a Dairy Queen nearby. Not the world's greatest Dairy Queen if you're over in Bluefield, West Virginia. Came back, and it had started moving. So we raced it down to Oakville, West Virginia, just before you get into Virginia. And we found this old bridge low to the ground. There's actually a mini waterfall near it. Nowhere in the picture though. But we went there, parked to the side, and we waited. And we waited and waited. And he was like, Jake, man, I don't hear. So he started walking up towards the tracks, seeing if he could see it. And I was like, no. We'll hear it, or we'll hear the rails, start making noise. So he came back down. So we're sitting there. All my settings were done. Everything was good. And then we heard the horn comes through, and he was like, no. He was like, that's so cool, because it wasn't like too far from us. It was a low-hanging, low-clearance bridge, and I got some really good photos of both units. And I was like, oh, that was my spot. That's really what I want. And he was like, we can chase it. And I was like, how far do you want to go? And he was like, we can go all the way to Giles County, near Narrows. So I was like, well, heck yeah. So sped down, caught up to it near the old Norfolk Western Freight Depot, went to the volunteer fire department, because, the track comes down and then it starts curving. So we get like this really cool side shot of it. Parked there real quick, went across the road, waited for it, got some really, really good photos. Didn't get any video. I was kind of more in that photographic mindset, got some good photos, and then went down to Glenlyn, Virginia. And it was cool because as soon as we got to Glenlyn, it was pretty much like side to side, you know, with us. And it was cool because it was like elevated. We were a little low, so I was getting like cool hero shots. But we were neck and neck with the with the Conrail unit. And I leaned out the window and I was like taking pictures and waving. And I remember the engineer, like I saw him open the door and wave. And then they went like, you know, with the horn went brr, brr. And I was like, that's so cool. It was the first time that had ever, you know, happened. And so I told my uncle, I was like, hey, I was like, you know, honk your horn. So he did it. And that was cool. We ended up going a little faster because I wanted the BNSF. And then I wanted a shot of them coming towards us with the old Appalachian power plant smokestacks in the background. So we go up and, you know, I'm waving, taking pictures, and, you know, they gave us a nice little horn show. It was really, really cool. You know, both crews, I guess, were super, super friendly, super, super nice. Got some of my favorite photos I've ever gotten. We ended up getting it there, and then we went into Narrows at the old Norfolk Southern bridge that goes over the creek, and that was the last place that we got some photos of it, and it was super cool. You know, we were standing there after we got our photos. We were watching the freight stuff goes by, and my uncle comes up to me. He's like, that was intense. He was like, that's more intense than I thought it would be. I was like, yeah. I was like, and he was like, we need to do this again. And so we ended up doing it the next day. We went towards Bluefield. We didn't chase anything too far. You know, stuff came up, but yeah, the first railroad or train chase with my uncle, and we've done like 4 or 5 since, but he's definitely got the bug. I'll still call him usually once a week. He's like, hey, I was driving by the yard and I saw this cool train, you know, and stuff like it. It's super cool. But thank you all for watching the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. Comment your thoughts on it. Do you remember your first train chase or Railfanning adventure? What was it like? Was it fun? Was it, you know, intense? You know, what did you think? And of course, subscribe for more. But I'm Jake. Have a good rest of your day.